On with Megan and Christy.
Hey, Megan and Christy, how are you guys doing today?
Hey, not too bad. What's going on tonight?
So, I recently kind of came out as an atheist on on my social media and everything. I just wanted to kind of put it out there. I didn't want to, mislead people when they're talking religion and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and congratulations. I know that can be kind of a tricky experience sometimes.
For sure.
Thanks. It wasn't so bad. Most people were pretty supportive, or, the worst I got was, we know you're an atheist and, we still love you. And I'm like, well, I don't think that should,
Didn't know the two were related, but thanks for bringing it up. That's
right?
okay.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of got me thinking, two times in my life I've had someone come out to me gay, and I know that can be a lot, more difficult. And so, when I was thinking about it, I realized, neither time I really handled it great. I don't think I did anything, too bad, but I think I could have handled it better.
Sure.
The thing that really breaks my heart is, both times, these were people that were good friends with me. I've known them for a year or two, and, they were absolutely terrified. And I'm thinking, what did I do to make them think that they should be afraid to get personal with me? I'm like a cis straight male, but so I don't really understand, but I know it's kind of a vulnerable thing to admit. So I guess I got two questions. My first question is, how can I make it, I don't want anyone to be afraid to come out to me. I don't want to push them to come out to me, but if they want to, I want them to kind of know that it's okay, that I'm going to be, it's not going to change how I feel, So my question is, how can I kind of make that clear, without trying to push anyone to do something like that? I don't want to be, forcing the issue, but I just want them to know that they don't have to be scared to talk to me about it, if they choose to.
Right. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Christy, but it's not so much saying you can, I suspect and you can tell me. It's more just displaying that you are supportive of the general position of being, gay or trans or bi or non-binary or whatever the label or area on the spectrum may be.
I don't know. I think it's about going through your phone and just texting people at random, hey, bro, you gay?
That was a joke?
No. Yeah, just wait for somebody to, clip that, and now my career's over. No.
I'm doing that now.
Yeah.
Okay,
great.
Good.
I think that there are two things to remember. And number one is that for many, many people, for a lot of good reasons, it's always going to be scary to come out for the first time or to come out to somebody who doesn't know. And so recognizing that that's not about you and being okay with other people having an experience that might be an unpleasant one, wanting to, of course, be kind and compassionate and helpful during that situation, but knowing that their feelings, their experience is not your trauma, it's not your tragedy. And being respectful of that space, I think, is incredibly important. And then beyond that, I do think that there are things that you can be doing, and that is to just be very careful about who you are and how you communicate yourself. And it sounds like you are already aware of how you speak and how you present. And the reality is we live in a culture where it's very common and in many ways seen as acceptable to say, oh, I don't like that taco place, that's gay. Or to, just very casually say things that are derogatory towards these marginalized people. And so being aware of how you come across to others and recognizing that that type of behavior is not acceptable and it is going to make people feel uncomfortable sharing these things with you. So being cognizant of those types of microaggressions and making sure that you keep them out of your mouth so people know that you are somebody who's an ally and who supports them.
Okay, that makes sense.
And you said...
So just kind of like... Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just trying to think. So like, be aware of how I'm speaking and the terms I'm using, and just try to focus on more positive language, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and you know, the example of calling something so gay is a little on the nose. There are much more subtle things that take a little bit of practice, and I don't think that your gay friends or your closeted gay friends are going to necessarily be angry with you because you ask your male friends, "Hey, do you have a girlfriend?" as opposed to, "Hey, are you dating somebody?" or "Hey, do you have a partner?" Or, you know, it's about using that inclusive language and being careful about the way that the assumptions that you make and the way that you talk. That's not easy. And I think that people understand that, and people will be respectful of that so long as you're making an effort. And I do think it's important to make an effort to use inclusive language and to, you know, not ask your male coworker about their wife unless you know that they're married to a woman, you know?
Right. You know, using spouse or significant other when, you know, inquiring about a spouse or significant other, and not assuming a gender or
even a number.
Right.
You know, I mean, I know that we're getting a little far afield, but so often people will say, "Oh, I thought I met your girlfriend," and I'm like, "Well, I was talking about my other one," you know.
Right. Well, I mean, that was one of them.
Yeah, making space for that.
Okay.
And you said you had another question for us?
Yeah, it's related. I was just kind of like I said, my reactions weren't really ideal. I think the first time, you know, my best friend in high school came out to me, I just kind of said, "Okay." You know, I don't think that's exactly what he wanted to hear. So I'm just wondering, like, what kind of things can I do after the fact to show that I'm supportive? Like, you know, to me personally, you know, if someone asked me how I felt personally about, you know, homosexuality, I would just say kind of, you know, I don't care. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean, like, when I'm deciding,
like,
it's a
non-issue.
It's not a factor, you know, I take into account. But I don't think that that's a good answer to say either. So I'm just wondering, like, what kind of things can I do to make them feel like comfortable and accepted, if at all, you know, well, once they've come out to me.
In my situations, I've never had someone necessarily come out to me. It's always just been a kind of a, from day one, kind of, "Hey, you know, this is who I am." And then, you know, if I had any question, eventually it would come up in conversation, you know, "Oh, my boyfriend, oh, my girlfriend," or, "Oh," whatever point of the conversation establishes.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're like, "Okay, yeah," and just treat it like a non-issue. Treat it like it is normal.
Yeah, and I think the two things I would tack on to that is number one, recognizing that for a lot of people, their gender identity or their orientation is not just a non-issue. It's an important part of who they are. You know, it's like that 90s model of saying, like, "Well, there are no black people and white people. I'm colorblind, and you know, we're all the same." And you know, we're not all the same. A lot of us see our racial identity as a really important aspect of who we are, and that extends over to these other identifiers. So for some folks, being gay is a really important part of who they are. So to just say, "Okay," can come across as a little bit dismissive, even if to you that's not a important identifier. So making some space for that, recognizing that, you know, this may be a really important thing that they've just shared, especially if they've been in the closet and they're coming out to you for the first time. But beyond that, the other thing I think it's really important for allies to remember is that as much as you are a part of shaping this world, you know, particularly folks that are in the dominant culture have a responsibility to be kind and compassionate and aware, and to utilize their privilege well, to recognize that this isn't your fight. And as much as you want to be an ally, the most important thing that you can be doing is to just be decent and kind. Vote like every life matters. Be generous to people and be concerned. And it sounds like you are. And I think that that's genuinely 98% of the battle, is just being aware and being concerned about the rights of all people. Beyond that, I don't know that you want to, start waving around your rainbow flag in hopes that your gay friends are going to come out to you. I would just encourage you to be yourself and to be very human and to be kind and not to overthink the rest of it too much. Am I communicating that well?
I think so.
Yeah.
I would say be kind, like you were saying, be kind and make it clear that you are an ally in general.
Sure.
In your normal conversation, like Christy was saying, in that way, be kind toward others. Be kind in your conversation with someone. Be kind toward the third party you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Be kind when you're discussing the topics, whether it's about the person you're talking to or about a topic you read about in the newspaper. But just use that to show your compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you very much. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I really appreciate you guys taking my call, and I really appreciate everything y'all are doing with the show. I only came across it this week, and I was really happy to see, open discussion about sexuality from, an atheist perspective. This is something that the world needs more of, and I really appreciate the work you guys are doing.
Hey, well, glad to hear it. Thank you so much.
Why we're here.
Yeah, we appreciate you giving us a call.